Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is Expert Entrance 3851, posted to r/Am I Overreacting January 2nd, 2026. Am I overreacting? My husband's work wife turned out to be a teenager, and he doesn't seem to understand why I'm upset. I've been married to my husband, 43 male, for over 10 years. We have a normal, healthy relationship. No cheating, hiding phones, etc. He's a chef for an organization / not a restaurant. So he works normalish hours, usually 12 to 8. In telling me about his day at work, he will casually mention the names of people I don't know, but have come to know about through his work stories. One of these people is a lady we'll call Sarah. I had gotten the gist that Sarah is a younger woman that is just starting out in her culinary career, and my husband has sort of taken her under his wing, which I thought was cool. She would text him during non-work hours about regular friend stuff, asking how our daughter's birthday party was, how our new cat was doing. I was happy he was taking this young lady under his wing, as I know how kitchens can be for women. I jokingly referred to her as his work wife a few times, just kidding with him about how often he mentioned her. I had zero suspicion about cheating, just thought she was a female friend and coworker. My husband recently put in his 2 weeks at that organization, and has only been working part-time there to help them in the transition, while also working at a new place that seems much less chaotic. He's super happy at the new spot. His last day of work was last week, and it also happened to fall on the day of the previous job's Christmas party. I went with him to the party like I normally do, and I got to meet Sarah. She seemed like a sweet girl, clearly knew he was married, asked me about some treats she had made and sent home with him recently that I got to try. She mentioned that she cried earlier that day because he wouldn't be there anymore, and she would have to work with the other crazies without him. To which I responded that she should try to apply at his new job because it seems a lot less stressful. She said that she was planning on it, but couldn't until she turns 18 in 2 years. The girl is 16. I was taken aback. I thought about the friendly texts referring to her as his work wife, etc. I knew she was young, but not that she was a child. Wait, I thought you were the one who referred to her as the work wife, not him. On the way home, I sort of confronted my husband about it. I asked him if he knew she was 16. Yes, and why he didn't mention it. Didn't seem important. He seemed hurt that I was calling out that behavior as inappropriate on his part. I absolutely don't think that anything sexual was going on, which he seems to think that's the issue. But I am genuinely concerned that he doesn't see how inappropriate it is to be friends with a 16-year-old girl. We have a 7-year-old daughter, and I asked him how he would feel if when she was 16, he found out that she had been texting her 40-plus-year-old male boss after work hours just to chat. He said that he didn't see an issue as long as it wasn't sexual or anything. I told him that he needed to not have any contact with Sarah anymore, and he got defensive and said that he didn't even have any reason to contact her because they didn't work together anymore. But I shouldn't accuse him of being a predator just because he was being nice to her. I tried to explain that I know that he wasn't being a creep, but anyone who didn't know him well or her parents would see their friendship as inappropriate. He showed me where he deleted her contact and off Facebook at my request, and he's been standoffish as though I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Am I overreacting? Edit, just to clarify some things that keep getting mentioned in the comments. He never referred to her as his work wife. I'm the only one who said that, and I definitely would not have had I known her age. Are you serious here? Do you have any idea how bad your title makes your husband sound? Ugh. Yes, I get how the term work wife is weird. I never suspected my husband of any kind of inappropriate relationship with Sarah, and made sure when we're talking about the situation that he knew this. I didn't accuse him of being a predator or grooming her or anything like that. He didn't act inappropriately to her in any way. The confrontation was about how it looks to other people and how I would think anyone would react to a man his age having a friendship with a child that he no longer has a working relationship with. See, I'm almost wondering if maybe the wife is embarrassed for herself because she was calling a 16-year-old his work wife and he never corrected her because he didn't want her to feel uncomfortable, and now this is being taken out on him. That's my potential pet theory here. We'll see if there's more context added that changes that. By the way, also, I'm not saying the husband should not have corrected his wife or should have, protected her feelings. He 100% should have corrected her the moment that she called a 16-year-old his work wife. I'm just wondering if potentially maybe he didn't correct her out of some attempt to protect her feelings. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Did he call her the work wife? Did she call herself his work wife? Or did you call her his work wife? Quote, I jokingly referred to her as his work wife a few times, end quote. I don't see other references to this other than your comments. Did you get mad at him for your own comment? OP responds, I guess that I'm now seeing how I am a little mad at myself for referring to her as his work wife, and I am the only one who used that term. Had I known her age, I would not have said that. Downvoted commenter, info. What kind of job does your husband work where a 16-year-old would be there day in and day out? A high school dropout? I enjoy some stories, but this seems very unlikely to have ever happened. OP responds, at this job, he was a chef for a catering company. I'm assuming his coworker was able to come to work after she got out of school. I don't know the particulars of how many hours kids that age can work, but I'm assuming it was part-time. The concept of a high schooler working from 3 to 8 o'clock is not that crazy of a concept. Commenter 2. She's overreacting. He may not have said so, but there's a good chance he thought of her as a surrogate daughter helping her learn how to be a chef. I had a friend on the internet. She wasn't 16, but she was much younger than I was, and I also thought of her as a surrogate daughter. She was married to a jerk. Luckily, she realized she was married to a jerk, they got divorced, then she met someone better and married him. We kept in touch, although she stopped posting after they had a child, and I haven't heard much from her since. So his thoughts on the girl are not anything like what his wife is fantasizing it is. OP responds, no, I definitely thought this too. My husband is a safe person, and I can see how he just thought that he was being nice to her. As I said in my post, I know him well enough to know that he isn't grooming her or doing anything like that. Someone else responded here that the optics were bad, and that's what I'm trying to get him to understand. It's not about actually being creepy. If I knew a 40-year-old man and a 16-year-old girl were texting and not about work, it would instantly put me on guard about him and for her. I worry that he's not seeing how it would be seen as inappropriate if someone saw their relationship without the context. I'm sorry if I made it seem as though I thought something nefarious was going on. I absolutely don't. Commenter 3. You're overreacting. I'm a woman in her 50s who started in a male-dominated industry at 16. I was thankful for a couple of older guys who took me under their wings. I never felt it was inappropriate or sexual, much more like a father teaching their daughter skills needed for the profession. I'm so very thankful for both of them, still today. One of them and his wife have even attended my wedding years later. You yourself stated that you know your husband would never do anything. Why make it gross? There are plenty of horrible people in the world who will mistreat young women. You have said that's not your husband. Let the good guys continue to be good guys and back him up. Help him make sure others don't get the wrong ideas. OP responds, thank you for this perspective. My reaction was knee-jerk thinking, what will other people think? And worried that others would misconstrue his intentions, though I know he's one of the good ones. Him being a safe person for young women in that industry outweighs what other people may think, and I'll definitely back him up. Commenter 4. A few questions. 1. Is it pretty common for minors to be hired at his previous place of employment? 2. Are there texts/questions she had for him after work hours similar to what other coworkers, minors or not, would ask him? 3. How does your husband seem about leaving his previous place of employment? Relieved? Prior to your conversation about her age, did he imply at all that he wouldn't be maintaining contact with her or any other of his other coworkers? Granted, the first time you called her his work wife, he should have immediately said something to the effect of, yeah, no, she's only 16 years old, let's not call her that. I am curious why he didn't feel the need to bring that up. In my opinion, I'm wary of the concept of calling coworkers work wife or work husband. It implies quite a bit and convolutes things. OP responds, 1. I don't know how many other kids work there, but after working in a restaurant for a long time, I know that 16 is usually the minimum age you can be hired. There are generally always a handful starting out around that age. 2. The texts were just normal things that he would have told her about just working alongside her. About our daughter, the new cat, the treats that she wanted us to try. Nothing that would suggest she knew more about him than any other coworker would know. 3. He's stoked to leave his job. I brought up applying to his new job when I met her because he and I had previously talked about her being sad he was leaving, and I had suggested that she would like working at his new job better as well. The previous place sounded like a shit show. Another downvoted commenter. How is your husband working with a 16-year-old girl from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day, all of this time? She doesn't have school during the day? Lofi responds, those were his work hours. I would guess that a kid would only work part-time after school. Update, January 3rd, 2026, same post, next day. Update, I have read all the comments and appreciate them and took them into consideration. The issue was gnawing at me, so my husband and I had a lengthy conversation this morning. I apologize for my knee-jerk reaction and for automatically assuming that people would think the worst. We discussed some things that were brought up here, mostly about how it was my own embarrassment for sexualizing the relationship with the work-wife comments. Rest assured, I will never use that term again. Truly had no idea that phrase was such an ick for people. But that he should have mentioned that she was a kid the first time I said it. He said that he thought that I already knew that she was still in high school, and he thought I was just poking fun at him because I thought a kid had a crush on him at work. I asked him how I would know that without him telling me directly. And he brought up that I had asked him who she was when she liked a pic I had tagged him in on Facebook. It was a pic of some food that looked amazing. I posted it to my Facebook because I was proud of him. She liked the post, and I generally know his friends who like his tag pics, so I said, hey, who's this? And he said, oh, that's Sarah from work. And that was it. He had assumed that I had done some digging, and I didn't, so I had no idea. I also tried to explain to him that it was awesome that he was her mentor, tried to use this term a lot because it was mentioned in the comments often, and that I wish I had that when I was younger, but that many people's experience with older male coworkers were not good, mine included, and that people might have the same immediate reaction that I did. I apologize for projecting my bad experiences into this situation. His response was that he had no interest in being anyone's mentor, especially someone he would have to mentor outside of work. He said that he just felt protective of her, like some people have mentioned, and he would want someone to take care of our daughter too if she finds herself in this line of work. He said that she alluded to not having a great family, and that she absolutely loved our daughter. She's been into his job a couple of times when he had to take her to get a deposit/do a grocery run on his days off, and had told him she could babysit if we ever needed her to. He said that she had taken an interest in me as well because he had mentioned what I do for a living. I work in the music industry, and was always asking what bands I get to see. He said that in his mind, he knew that this girl could benefit from having stable adults in her life, and that he had intended to keep the line of communication in hopes that she could reach out to him/us if she needed anything, now that they don't work together anymore. I was so ashamed reading the comments, and especially when he said that my reaction to the situation was to cut communication because of how it looks, and not realizing that this girl may be latching on to him because she needed someone like my husband. We came to the conclusion that we were both sort of in the wrong due to both of us just assuming things. Me assuming that she was an adult, him assuming that I knew she was a kid. He admitted that he didn't once think about how it may look that she texted him because he knew it was innocent. But in the future, he would loop in another adult when she contacted him just so nothing gets misconstrued. I apologize for assuming that other people would assume the worst. He's a great guy. All is well. The downvoted commenters that kept asking about how a high schooler is working a job just obviously have never worked in retail or never paid attention. Because the amount of times that I would leave school at 2:15 and then go home real quick, get into work clothes, and then scurry down to the kitchen I was working in, yeah, that was pretty common. I would work there until 9. I worked from 3 to 9 pretty often. So I just kept finding it goofy when people were like, ha, checkmate, a high schooler working a job from 12 to 8? Yeah, right, this post is fake. Oh, that's pretty common. Good God. Now, when it comes to the husband and wife, I am very happy they talked this out, and hopefully we'll have a good direction to push things in the future. The wife definitely kind of put her husband in a weird looking glass by posting the Reddit title that she did, but I'm glad all that was worked out, and it turns out that he's not being really creepy, and he's actually just a really good guy, and she's more worried about things being misconstrued and potentially embarrassed that she was calling her his work wife when she was 16. And despite the husband's explanation of him thinking the wife was teasing him about it being a work crush and that she knew that she was 16, I still think he probably should have shut that down, innocent intentions or not. And as much as it sucks, the wife does have a point. It is unfortunately pretty common for single fathers who are taking their daughters places to have the ire on them that there's some kind of predator. It seems that every once in a while we run into stories that are, publicized about how a father was arrested or taken into custody because, people at the playground thought that he was watching the children or being nefarious when he was there with his daughter, and putting him in the position where now he's being interrogated by police just because he's there with his daughter and people assume the worst. So yeah, the wife is right about that. And while her phrasing definitely could have been better, she is in the right to be concerned about how people may perceive her husband for having any kind of communication with a teenage girl, even if it is strictly innocent and platonic and almost as if it's a mentor/father figure. Doesn't matter, people are going to assume the worst, and the wife doesn't want that kind of stress on his shoulders. So I understand where she's coming from on that, I just wish she never brought up the term work wife into this. But I am very happy these two were able to work things out between them and build towards a more productive future. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is a Conscious League 5661, posted r/am_I_the_asshole December 29th, 2025. Am I the asshole for moving out of mine and my now ex-boyfriend's apartment without reminding him that our lease is up on the 31st? My ex-boyfriend, 30 male, and I, 29 female, have been together for almost 8 years, living together for 5. We were initially child-free by choice because we quite liked having a ton of disposable income and being able to go on spontaneous trips, and didn't want to ruin that. A little over a year ago, one of our best couple friends got pregnant, and I think he started to change his mind about the child-free lifestyle. We spoke about it, and he assured me that he hadn't changed his mind, but I had a bit of a gut feeling. The baby was born in July, and while we have both been involved in the necessary village-like activities of having close friends that are new parents, I sensed him sort of pulling away from me, texting less and less throughout the day, missing at least one of our bi-weekly date nights per week. Once more, I tried to have a conversation with him and explained in pretty uncertain terms that I was not going to change my mind about being child-free, and advised him that if he was heading in that direction, he needed to tell me now to avoid miscommunications and a messy breakup later. He said he had been thinking about talking to me about adoption later on down the line. We spoke about it briefly, but once my mind is made up, it's very hard to change. He had a few business trips lined up in October, so we decided to use that time to take a break, determine if we still aligned, and come back, either having worked through it or deciding to break up once and for all. We rent a pretty fancy, expensive apartment together, and I stayed in it while he traveled. I'm a very pragmatic person, so I kind of saw that as the beginning of the end, because a disagreement about whether or not to have a child is not something a couple can compromise about, in my opinion. And while I knew I could probably be able to afford this place on my own, I wouldn't be able to keep up the kind of lifestyle I've been living, so I began putting feelers out for a new apartment. I told him that I was doing this, as we still spoke at least once a week during this break, and we even joked about how we were smart to have this relationship mess happen towards the end of the year, when our lease is up. We broke up officially in late November, and I reminded him that the lease on our current apartment was due to expire in December, so he needed to decide if he was staying here. I thought that was unlikely because even though he makes a bit more than I do, and it is his name on the lease, pretty much all the furniture and everything that made this place ours was mine. Or finding somewhere new. He waffled a bit, said he wasn't sure that he would make up his mind closer to the end of the year. We pretty much cut majority of contact since the breakup, except for coordinating to pick up a few odds and ends that he needed at wherever he's been living temporarily at the moment. It is now the 29th of December, and here's where I think I might be the asshole. I was able to find a gorgeous, decently sized, decently priced 2-bedroom apartment quite literally 2 weeks ago, and have made arrangements to have my furniture moved tomorrow. I've been on the fence all day today about calling him to remind him about the lease ending, because as much as he's essentially moved the majority of his clothes out, He still has a ton of electronics, memorabilia, comic books, and action figures, and general odds and ends in his office, which I have not touched because nothing in there belongs to me. My best friend, who is currently drinking all my wine while we pack the last of my stuff, thinks I should call him to remind him, just as a courtesy. But I think I've given him more than enough reminders leading up to today. And we're both adults here. I shouldn't have to remind him to collect his things out of our apartment. So Reddit, am I the asshole for essentially moving out without telling him and leaving what might be a bit of a mess with the landlord for him to deal with? Am I the asshole has no consensus bot? OP was not the asshole. Top comments, commenter 1. Not the asshole, but you could send a text like, got all my stuff out today, everything left here is yours. But you could just as easily not do so and he can be responsible for himself, unless your name is anywhere on that lease. If so, you're gonna get hit with late fees if there are any. Commenter 2. You don't need to remind him, but all my things are out, I left my key on the kitchen counter text is a courtesy you would give a roommate or landlord. Commenter 3. Info, where is he staying now? Did he tell the landlord that he's leaving at the end of the month? Most leases become month-to-month if not formally renewed and require 60 days notice to end. Are you sure he hasn't already made arrangements to extend the lease? Commenter 4. You know, if he had cheated or tried to pressure you to have his babies or done something awful, I could totally see not saying anything, but it sounds like a reasonably amicable breakup caused by changing goals for the future. It's not unheard of for someone to waffle about whether or not they want a family. Especially men. I've always known I want to remain child-free as a woman, but I've had a steady stream of exes who started out saying they never want kids who change their mind as soon as one of their friends or siblings has one. Anyway, I just send him a reminder text and leave it at that. Update, January 3rd, 2026, 5 days later. Hello all! I don't know if I'm doing this update thing correctly, but I had posted the sub to get some more feedback on a conversation I was having with a friend, and I hadn't intended to do anything other than go through the replies and make up my mind one way or the other, but it got a ton more replies than I expected. So, for anyone interested, I did end up texting him on Wednesday morning because the cleaners were coming in the afternoon, and I wanted them to clean his space out too. Luckily, he had not forgotten, but apparently, he had been expecting me to pack up his office and let him know when to come collect his stuff. LOL! Lamau even! Anyway, I told him that I hadn't, and he had came to the house right away to get his things together. We had a really nice morning together despite that miscommunication, and all is well. Thanks to everyone who commented on the original post and DM'd me their thoughts. The ultimate goal was to get opinions from people who had distance from the situation, and I achieved that. I can also acknowledge that I was a little bitter about the circumstances, and that's what led to my hesitance to text him in the first place. But overall, I'm glad I did. Thank you for your time, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Top comments, commenter 1. Quote, he had been expecting me to pack his office stuff up and let him know when to come and collect his stuff, question mark, end quote. I can see why you laughed about it, let's talk about crazy expectations, lol, but yeah, what really matters is that everything went well. Good luck on your new home. Commenter 2. He expected you to pack up his shit? What an ass. Enjoy your child-free life, it's pretty fucking awesome. Commenter 3. Happy New Year, hope you make the best of it and take care of yourself. Okay, so I am happy that this is kind of like healthy relationship drama. It is a apparently misunderstanding, I'll talk about that in a second, but overall, things ended smoothly. It was relationship drama that was honestly pretty normal and fine and didn't end up with either of them being hurt in some insane way, like ending up with $125,000 worth of credit card debt, because your kids tried pushing your brother into the pool. Personally though, if I were to put a tinfoil hat theory out there, I'm gonna kind of call soft bullshit on his thing of like, oh, I thought you were gonna pack my stuff up for me. I think he actually wanted to pack his things up with her so they would have more time to be together and potentially talk about things and maybe see if he can convince her or rekindle that relationship or something along those lines. And the reason why I say this is entirely based upon me and who I am, because I would never, ever let someone else pack up my comic books, action figures, memorabilia, or electronics. That shit is being done by me. Electronics are going to be bubble wrapped into oblivion. All my action figures and whatnot gotta be packed by me because Ultra Magnus is not losing his shoulder rockets, goddammit. And I don't want to risk the memorabilia being damaged or, God forbid, one of my comic books being torn. Yeah, no, I'm packing that shit up myself. I'm not expecting someone else to do that for me. That's why I'm calling bullshit on the thing of him expecting her to pack it up for him. I think it was a ploy, but that's just my tinfoil hat theory. This post was collected by Shattenspringer, and their tagline is, "Waste of a read, literally no drama." Original OP is Other Suggestion, 1609, posted in r/am_I_the_asshole, January 9th, 2026. Am I the asshole for questioning my engagement after my fiance got mad at me for drinking while pregnant? Sorry if this is long, I just need opinions. I can't tell if I'm being dramatic about this. So I, 22 female, recently got engaged to my fiance, 23 male. We're both still living at home to save money, to eventually get our own place. I still live with my parents, but I stay at his place most nights because it's closer to work and just easier. So this New Year's Eve, we were at his parents' house with family and a few friends. Nothing crazy, just a normal family get-together. His aunt was passing out champagne to everyone and asked me if I wanted some. But before I could even respond, my fiance reached out and took the glass. I kinda thought it was weird, but I just ignored it because he can be oblivious sometimes. I ended up just going to the kitchen and pouring myself a drink. When I got back to the living room, he immediately noticed my drink and asked pretty loudly, "Is that alcohol?" I said yes. He started getting really upset. He said he couldn't believe I would do that he thought I was more responsible and I was being reckless. I was obviously confused and asked him what he's talking about. He said something like, "You're really going to mess things up before they even start? You're going to hurt the baby." The room went quiet and I was so embarrassed. I was thinking he must be drunk or something. I asked him, "What baby?" He said he knew I was pregnant and that he'd been trying to do the right thing. He said he found a pregnancy test in the bathroom weeks ago, and that's why he's been watching what I eat and drink. And why he proposed. He said he was stepping up. Then he said he didn't know if he had made a mistake, if this was the kind of mother I was going to be. I was literally so shocked and humiliated. I told him I'm not pregnant, but he just told me I don't need to lie. I'm not pregnant. I ended up leaving and coming to my parents' house that night. I haven't been to his place since. He keeps trying to reach out to me to talk about it, but I'm not ready. That brings us to last night. My fiance's mom messaged me and asked me to come over and talk. She says relationships take effort and I shouldn't ruin my relationship over a little misunderstanding. I don't know what to do. I love my fiance, but I can't stop thinking if he never thought I was pregnant, would he have even proposed to me? I'm really rethinking the whole relationship. Am I the asshole? Consensus, not the asshole. Commenters are telling her to fucking run from this relationship. They also ask, who's pregnant if it isn't OP? Update, same day, about 1 hour later. So a bunch of comments are asking about the pregnancy test my fiance found. I don't know why I didn't even question that when he said it. I think I was just in shock. I've never taken a pregnancy test at his house, so I don't know if he saw something and thought it was a test or if he's been crazy and making it up. I just messaged his mom back and I'm going over there to talk and figure out what I want to do. I do really like his family and I still love my fiance, or boyfriend. I don't know what to call him now. He's never really done things to make me worry before, so I want to at least listen before I throw everything away. Update 2, January 11th, 2026, 2 days later. Yesterday I went over to my boyfriend's house and it did not go as expected. I honestly don't even know what I was expecting, but after reading some of your comments about whose test it was, or if it even was a pregnancy test, I had to find out. My boyfriend was really happy to see me when I got there. I don't think his mom told him I was coming. He seemed really genuine and kept apologizing. His mom asked us to sit down and she started crying, saying she doesn't want to ruin our relationship and she loves us both and wants the best for us. Then she shows us a sonogram. It was his mom's test. Literally, all of this stupid drama because my boyfriend is an idiot. He said he didn't think his mom could get pregnant anymore because she's in her 40s. So the only other possibility was for it to be mine. but he didn't want to ask me, so I could tell him myself. I love surprising people, so honestly that does make sense, but like it had been weeks. He could have said something after all that time. His mom said she didn't say anything at the party because she didn't know what she was going to do yet, and didn't want everyone at the party finding out, but it still bothers me that she let me take the embarrassment instead, or at least tell us after in private instead of letting us not talk for over a week. I do kind of feel bad now that my boyfriend really thought I was pregnant and thought I wasn't taking it seriously. I talked to him about the engagement and if he meant what he said about stepping up. He said he had already had the ring for a while but was waiting for the right time, and when he saw the test, he thought of it as a sign and got excited, thinking of us as a little family. He says he only said what he said at the party in the heat of the moment, thinking I was someone who would risk our baby like that, and he didn't actually mean it. I think I believe him. As of now, we aren't engaged anymore, but we're still together. I told him we really need to work harder on communication if we want to make our relationship last. A lot of comments were saying he's a red flag and stuff, and I can see where you're coming from, but this was really the only time he's been like that. I think his intentions were sweet but came off wrong. Also, a lot of people saying we're too young to get married, but my parents got married young and are still together, so I think it depends. If we do get engaged, again, I told him to actually wait until he's ready and not when he thinks he needs to. Consensus. Again, everybody tells her to fucking run from this man and his whole family. Comments by OP, which were mostly downvoted. I've been with him since I was 19, and this is really the only problem we've had other than small random dumb things. I don't want to throw everything away over this, and yeah, we are still young and have learning to do together. We've been together since I was 19 though. I feel like he had so much time to have shown me his true colors. I feel a bit sad for him in a way because his dad wasn't much in his life, so I think when he thought I was pregnant, he really wanted to do the right thing. But then, how do people that cheat and stuff lie when they say they only love their partner? See, this one's weird because it's literally responding to a comment that's saying it's neurologically impossible for someone to say something they don't mean. So I don't know why OP was being downvoted there. They then tell OP to check out a body language analyst on YouTube, and that's the proof that it's neurologically impossible for someone to say something they don't mean. I mean, after all, everyone knows that I think possums are the worst fucking animals on the planet. So I think OP responding to that comment saying, how do people cheat and stuff and lie when they say they only love their partner? That's a pretty fair comment to respond with. I don't know why they're being downvoted for responding to a comment like that. OP's final comment, we're going to get an apartment together. I don't think we'll get engaged anytime soon, but I want to make sure we can live together first, now, especially after reading all the comments I'm getting. I think I always forget how young we still are because I went straight to work after high school and didn't do uni. We've also been together since I was 19. Keep in mind, these two are in their very early 20s. I think Reddit's jumping the shark just a little bit, especially with the fact that a lot of people seem to be purposely hunting down OP's comments to downvote them. Because that's the only explanation that I have for why OP was downvoted for someone recommending a body language analyst and saying that it's impossible for someone to say something they don't mean. Like, that's just weird that OP's being downvoted for questioning that kind of logic. But additionally, I see the boyfriend's reaction as being more of a yellow flag than a red flag. He should have approached it differently, 100%. I think it's because he's young and trying to figure things out. He knows that fetal alcohol syndrome is a problem, thinks his girlfriend's pregnant, and doesn't want to jeopardize his future child. And because of how he was raised without his father, he wants to be the person his dad never was. He already had the ring picked out, was planning to propose, saw the pregnancy test as a sign, thought it was hers, and wanted to make sure he wouldn't follow in the footsteps of his father and be the person that he never had in his life. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he's heavily misguided, very naive, and he definitely needs more room to mature and grow, and he definitely needs to work on his communication with his girlfriend because calling her out like that in a public space at a party is incredibly embarrassing and not okay, and definitely need to have a conversation about that. But you two stepping back, going back to being boyfriend and girlfriend, and potentially moving in together to test things out and see how you two act and react to each other in a space like that is a good thing. Continue feeling things out, see how you two exist with each other in a confined space, And from there, see if you're compatible and maybe just mature together and see if he's actually someone where this is a one-off situation like you said it was. Because despite Reddit claiming that this guy is an abusive asshole who's trying to baby trap her and, just showed his true colors right here, I think that this was a 23-year-old who thought that he was going to be a father, had it in his head that he needed to change everything about his life and be prepared to be the best father possible and not repeat the sins of his own father, thought that his girlfriend, now fiancé, was going to do a cute surprise pregnancy announcement that he didn't want to ruin but still wanted to make sure that she was being safe. And in the process of trying to figure out how to navigate this, made some really foolish and stupid and immature decisions, and embarrassed his now ex-fiancé but current girlfriend. I would also, for the time being, make sure that you have your birth control on lockdown, or make sure that there is no possibility of the two of you having a child together until you are ready for that. Both of you still have a lot of maturing to do, and a baby should definitely not be the reason you two are getting engaged. And with that, I wish you two luck. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.